State Disaster Management Authority, SDMA, A. Indian Constitution and Natural Disasters Indian Constitution. The Magna Carta of Fundamental Rights for Indians guarantees protection of life and security with the purpose of ensuring a welfare state. Not only the laws and regulations framed by the central and state governments have to be in conformity with the constitutional provisions, but also the authorities have a duty under the Constitution to safeguard and protect the fundamental rights. The scope and applicability of these fundamental rights and the validity of the laws passed by the legislatures and the executive actions of the government are often the subject matter of various decisions by the Supreme Court of India. B. The Environment Protection Act, 1986. After the Bhopal gas leak tragedy, the Indian Parliament enacted the Environment Protection Act, AP. 1986 for the purpose of safeguarding and protecting the environment from unregulated industrial or other activities. Under the AP, the central government is entrusted with responsibility to take all the measures for protecting and improving the quality of the environment and preventing, controlling and abating environmental pollution. It prohibits persons carrying on any industry, operation or process from discharging or emitting any environmental pollutants in excess of prescribed standards. The AP imposes obligations on persons handling any hazardous substance to follow prescribed procedure and comply with prescribed safeguards. Technical publications and upthrust for knowledge. Disaster Management 2-33 Approaches to Disaster Risk Reduction, DRR, C. Environment Impact Assessment Statement in the year 1994. A notification was issued by the central government under Section 3 of AP making it mandatory on the part of all new industrial units and those with intent to modernize or expand to submit an Environment Impact Assessment (EIA) statement for the purpose of obtaining clearance from the central government for setting up industrial projects. D. The Manufacture, Storage and Impact of Hazardous Chemical Rules, 1989. In the year 1989, the central government framed the Manufacture, Storage and Import of Hazardous Chemical Rules, 1987. Under the AP, the principal objective of the rules is the prevention of major accidents arising from industrial activity, the limitation of the effects of such accidents both on humans and the environment, and the harmonization of the various control measures and the agencies to prevent and limit major accidents. A. The Coastal Regulation Zone, CRZ, Notification, 1991. In the year 1991, with a view to protect the fragile ecosystem of the coastal areas in India from unregulated developmental activities, the Government of India issued Coastal Regulation Zone, CRZ, notification under the AP to control the developmental activities within 500 meters of high tide line, HTL. F. The Public Liability Insurance Act, 1991. The Parliament also enacted the Public Liability Insurance Act, 1991, to provide for public liability insurance for the purpose of providing immediate relief to the persons affected by accidents occurring while handling hazardous substances. The Act imposes on the person, who has control over handling any hazardous substance, the liability to give the relief specified in the Act to all the victims of any accident which occurs while handling such substance. G. The National Environment Appellate Authority Act, 1997. This Act has been enacted to provide for the establishment of a National Environment Appellate Authority to hear appeals with respect to restriction of areas in which any industries, operations or process or class of industries shall not be carried out subject to certain safeguards under the AP. technical publications and upthrust for knowledge disaster management 2 to 34 approaches to disaster risk reduction, DRR-H. The Natural Disaster Management Act, 2005 The Disaster Management Act 2005 seeking for an effective management authorities have been constituted at the national, state and at the district level. The National Disaster Management Authority, National Authority, which is to be chaired by the Prime Minister of India, is entrusted with the responsibilities for laying down the policies on disaster management and approve plans at the national level for disaster management. National Disaster Management Authority, NDMA. The NDMA, as the apex body for disaster management, is headed by the Prime Minister and has the responsibility for laying down policies, plans and guidelines for DM and coordinating their enforcement and implementation for ensuring timely and effective response to disasters. The guidelines will assist the central ministries, departments and states to formulate their respective DM plans. National Executive Committee, NIC. The NIC comprises the Union Home Secretary as chairperson, and the secretaries to the government.